10th, 2025. This is the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. Has the meeting been properly posted?
Yes, it has.
All right. Moving on to our next general business item is an opportunity for public comment. Do we have anyone signed up to speak
No, we
about
have
the
none.
numbers?
We have
No.
none.
Okay. Moving into our first action item for the evening is the approval of minutes. Mrs. Voigt.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Mrs. Voigt, seconded by Mr. Harland. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Our next action item this evening is the approval of the vouchers. Did we have any questions?
There were no questions this month.
Great, because I have one. Mr. Clark and I were talking in our preparation for this committee meeting, and one of the things I'd like to walk through is kind of an overview of the P-card purchases, specifically relating to Amazon, and how that looks and goes through. For example, just this month alone, the Amazon purchases across the board were about $88,000. So trying to understand who has the authority to approve, how do we manage those against a budget? Do we trend those and take a look at how those add up within the districts or specific schools' budget categories?
Okay. I've made some notes, and I'll get it back to you.
So you're
Okay.
looking for that to be an agenda item
Jen-
at the next meeting?
I would like that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So seeing there were no submitted questions, are there any other discussion or question items? If not, I would be looking for a motion.
So moved. To approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Wad, seconded by Mr. Harland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. The next action item for the evening is the Pro Healthcare Employee Clinic Contract. Mr. Clark.
Yeah, last month, Pro Health was here to go over the last year's performance at the clinic, and that was laid out that way, because the contract was already being discussed, and so I'm bringing it back tonight for consideration. It's a 3-year agreement at a 3% annual increase in their professional fees. I provided a little breakout of some of the other things that we contract with them that is part of this, the health risk assessments, excuse me, and the flu shot annual costs as well. I also included some flyers. We've had that report, but things that our staff and that Kristen Moreau, our benefits coordinators here tonight as well, shares with staff, and it kind of gives you outlines of some of the procedures or services that are rendered there. So the administration is recommending approval of a new 3-year agreement, again, at a 3% annual increase. In this, well, it's not quite 3 years. We transitioned to the contract, or PHC, on January 1st, so now we're going to have this contract end in August, and that way it's on the same year as our medical deductible and everything else, just to kind of clean that up. So it would run from January 1st of '26 through August 31st of '29.
Is there any questions? I actually do have a question in relation to a 3% increase. When they were here to present to us, one of the things that we noted is that the clinic is currently underutilized. They're looking to get, I think it was roughly about 300, it was a prescriptions or meetings a month, but there was definitely metrics that they shared that we are underutilizing it. And so the question that I have is, do we actually push through a 3% increases on services that are not yet fully utilized and what we're expecting to ramp up to? It's just an interesting kind of piece, is their fees are going up for a model and a service level that we're not yet utilizing, which it costs us more because we're not seeing the benefit within the savings that we would get if our employees would use it.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a goal that they had set. At the time, Kristen and I looked at each other and thought, well, that's a lot of scripts. And I think the 3%, as you can probably guess, is probably tied to staffing costs and those things like that. But also, because I had the same kind of conversation with them, and I said, and I also go back to this clinic's costing us half what the old clinic used to. So used to be about $1 million, round numbers, $1 million. This one's coming in less than half of that. You know, there's no rush to approve this tonight. If we wanted to build in some sort of performance language of getting to that, I think it was prescription drugs per month. We could do that. I don't think that's, because obviously we have till January 1 of '26 to finalize this contract. So I do think the clinic, and we're talking about plan design for healthcare and things that might happen down before that might even force more participation to the clinic, or certainly provide the initiative to do that. But those aren't done. Those haven't been approved by anybody. So we're comfortable with the 3% increase just because I see the overall savings, and I do think the clinic is part of our long-term healthcare plan. But that's really up to the board or the committee if you want to build some other language into the contract.
And just remind me, the initial contract start date was when?
Kristen, what was that date?
January 1st of
22. Yeah. Kristen started that day. That's why I looked at her.
I started 6 months prior, but I moved to the business office the day we went
Yeah.
with ProHealth. The 3% increase has been, the entire time, it has been a 3% increase annually. And they originally wanted a higher percent in this contract, and we said we'd like it to stay at the 3% annual increase. So it's not a new increase, it has been that way, they just wrote it into the contract language.
Which is why. Okay. Dr. Piasek?
Just have a clarifying point on that, make sure that I understand, because it references the services in Exhibit A. But Exhibit A also includes reference to the kiosk agreement, so the availability of the cost-effective medications dispensed at the clinic or sent to pharmacy of choice. So does that 3% apply to kiosk purchases as well? And how does that work if we're promoting that those specific prescriptions are $2 per fill? Or is it our cost?
Yeah. The prescriptions stay at the same $2 cost for members getting a prescription there. The 3% increase in cost is across the board. So we have it broken down on our monthly invoice over the 5 different areas, like our OC Health, the manager, HRAs, and so it's just a 3% added on to all of those services for a total 3% increase annually.
And also then the salaries that are captured in Exhibit A. So no increase in fee schedule? to
Not
the
for our
employee.
employees, it would remain at $2.
Okay, good.
Mr. Wadd?
Yeah, and just a quick refresher, did we budget for a 3% increase for our employees? Or is this a cost that the district is taking on, but we're not passing it on to our employees and their?
Well, actually, the pool of money that this is paid out of is the same dollars that premium or claims are paid. It's all part of our self-funded.
Okay.
So they're paying 12% of the cost to run the clinic as well.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion items? I think those were good clarifying points and all that, but I do want us to be cautious and conscientious that the utilization of this, and to clarify for Mr. Wadd's point, in theory, yes, this would be effectively passed on because it's part of the overall. So our employees are going to feel this as well. And so that push that we constantly are talking about is the more that they utilize the clinic also is a very big incentive for us.
So just to clarify that, if one of our selling points to our staff is the utilization of this, can we say by extension, you utilize it more, the likelihood of an increase in your premium costs, or however that gets passed on, can be reduced?
That's true.
Is that true?
Yep. Because when we, instead of having like a set premium, like when you're fully insured, UHC would send you, your new premiums are gonna be X, right? And you'd have a 5-10% increase in the monthly premium. We gather all of our costs, including anticipated claims, but also the operation of the clinic. And all of that goes into the tabulation of our funding rates, which is the equivalent of the premiums. So all that money goes into a pool of money, and then we pay out our bills from there. So the more cost-effective an employee can be, the savings there, and that is shared. It's just not like,
I guess the question I would ask is, do they see it though? Would the employees see it year over year?
see it in in terms of the premium being lower? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, would
Yeah.
their total cost of health insurance decrease if they utilized it more? I guess that's what I'm
Yes.
asking.
Yep.
They're out of pocket if they're using these services. We're not proposing a change to the premiums based on this increase, I
No.
guess.
This is, but the math of developing our premiums includes the costs of the clinic. So they would save out of pocket, but just like we're actually having a staff health insurance committee, actually we just finished our 5th or 6th meeting. And it's all about consumerism and teaching staff to be as cost effective. It's the exact same thing as going to the lowest cost doctor. This is just a clinic that gives them a lower cost option as well. It saves the overall plan in medical care costs, which lowers their funding rate or premium.
Any other questions? Mrs. Voigt?
No, are we ready for a motion? I would move that we approve the new 3-year agreement from January 1, 2026 to August 31, 2029 with PHC.
Second.
Second, it's been motioned by Mrs. Voigt, seconded by Mr. Harland. Any other discussion items? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
All those opposed say no. It passes 5-0. Our next action for this evening is the We Energies easement.
Yeah, this is tied to the North Drainage Project, and actually, this easement was approved by the board back in, I believe it was March, but it was never recorded because We Energies waits because they wait to see if the power lines can actually be installed, where the drawings and the attachments of the original easement hold true. And in this case, on page 5 of the easement, all we're doing is asking permission to insert a new updated drawing, which is the blue line, if you're, and what happened was where they intended to lay the power line, they hit bedrock. So they couldn't bore underground, so they had to move it, but it's within the, all the verbiage for the entire easement is exactly as it was. It's just swapping out the drawing on this page.
Dr. Piasek?
So does anything change with our ability to utilize our spaces as we had intended by giving this easement? This is simply for dropping the power line, so what about serviceability or access? What can we not do?
It would be the same thing as the first one. It's just moving just a little bit. Right now, we let them put up 2 temporary poles to keep construction moving. So we'd be in the same boat. It really does not a change at all. It's just when they originally did it, they took it upon themselves to move it because of the bedrock. And then once the other companies found out in different trades, it wasn't going to work. So that's why, they have to move it.
Mrs. Voigt?
Just a clarifying question. You're saying that we had approved the easement, but they didn't actually record it, which means
Yep.
that we can make this change now, and it's not going to be a real complicated kind of process. It's just a matter of making that our statement.
Yeah, I brought it back tonight just because you had approved an easement with the other attachment. So I wanted, and We Energies also wanted follow-up approval just to make sure there was no questions when they actually do record it at the end of construction.
Is there any additional cost? I'm assuming they have to then, it looks like it's going out of the way. Is it accurate date. Is there any additional cost with?
No, not to us.
Oh,
And then even like the restoration side of it too, they'll be do directional boring. So if we move forward with restoration, it won't disturb that.
Okay, this is set as a action item for this evening, so if there's no further questions, I'd be looking for the motion. Mrs. White?
I move to approve the modified exhibit on page 5 of the We Energies easement that was previously approved on March 12th, 2025.
Second?
It's been moved by Mrs. Voigt, seconded by Mr. Wad. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All right, passes 5-0. We are now moving into our discussion or information items, which is the monthly budget report.
Thank you. I had included the general fund budget report and just wanted to read a few things there. In reviewing the vouchers for this month, there were a few that were not related to salaries and benefits that I wanted to bring your attention to. One was Robinson Brothers Environmental. We ended up paying them over $126,000. That was paid for the summer asbestos abatement of South, Les Paul, Banting, and Hillcrest. I reached out to Kyle, and he let me know that the utilization of the RFP process and strategic timing of the projects helped to keep the cost down. And then, of course, the biggest win is that we have asbestos out of our schools. The budget, the final budget was approved and will be entered in Skyward within the next month. And then we had 2 other larger bills that were related to curriculum, one for Montessori. This is our first installment for the K-5 through 8 contract. It was paid in October at the amount of $1.3 million. And the Teachers Curriculum Institute, we paid $274,000 and change for planned middle school curriculum adoption for science.
Mrs. White?
How many installments are part of the Montessori contract?
I believe there are two a year for Montessori, yes.
Okay.
And I just want to follow up on the Montessori piece to that too. So what is all included in the installments for that? So services, I know that I believe it's a total of 50 kids. But what else does that all include?
Yeah, we,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. How the amount's calculated, just so you know, is 86% of the funding for either a resident or open enrollment kid, because they're different numbers, is paid to Montessori. So we keep 14% of the pupil count. And then it's all the instructional services that are provided, except for in some cases, you might have special ed needs that we get back involved, because they are still our kids. But otherwise, it's turnkey. We don't fund anything besides that amount that they cover all the costs for instruction, classrooms, facilities. Does that answer your question?
Almost. Do they increase fees year over year?
Yeah, it's tied to the revenue limit calculation and what the state approves of the open enrollment allocation per student. So it does increase, but neither us or they are in charge of what that increase is, right?
That's what I need. Thank you. Any other discussion, action items? Seeing none, that actually concludes our business information for the night. So other business would be, are there any recommendations for future committee meetings? Seeing none, that concludes our committee meeting. I think record time. We meet in December, what's the date, Darren? On December 8th, 2025. Sorry, I didn't have that. That concludes our meeting for today.
And we'll have Airmark at that meeting to do their annual report. They were supposed to do it tonight, but then they couldn't make it, so that's why our agenda's pretty short.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
They're bringing food.
No, he promised to lobster roll.